Thank you, Clive, and thank you, Deputy Minister, for your statement today. And if I may, I'd like to pick up on a few points. Firstly, the basis of your proposals are that firefighters are no longer dealing with so many fires and therefore have a greater capacity to help with medical emergencies. But I feel that you have failed to recognise the drop in the number of fires is due to firefighters doing a very good job, not only in educating people to assess risks, but in helping people to implement greater fire protection. And you have made no mention of how you'll maintain this if you broaden the role of firefighters to include emergency medical call-out. Moreover, you are saying that the findings of the thematic review published last month indicate that there is current deficiency of training, and that this is due to the heavy reliance on the discretion shown by junior officers when they implement the carrying out of training protocols. But where is the evidence that, in Wales, firefighters have had substantially insufficient training? The report you referred to even says on points 93 and 94 that, by its very nature, assessing training competency is difficult to robustly assess in isolation, and in practice to actually facilitate a meaningful assessment of each individual firefighter across several competency areas would require an enormous amount of time. So I would argue, Deputy Minister, that it is an unfair statement for you to say that training is in such a dire state. You may also say, Deputy Minister, that the current working practices of firefighters are no longer suitable for the requirements of this training because of the complex operational needs of the fire service when dealing with the wide range and varying types of incidences it faces. But the point is undermined because you can't specify how much time is required to undertake this training, because only 1 out of the 3 fire services in Wales have actually completed an unconstrained analysis of the amount of time firefighters need to maintain all core and additional competency requirements. And the report states, with no reasoning whatsoever, that it does not believe that this analysis would stand up to review. So what you are implying, Deputy Minister, is that this government believes that junior officers in our fire service are incapable of making correct training decisions, which I believe is simply the opinion of the Chief Fire and Rescue Advisor, without, from what I can see, any concrete evidence that firefighters are currently inadequately trained for the complexities of roles that they face, again without any assessment of the training, and finally that firefighters are asleep on the job during night shifts when they don't have emergency call-outs, and therefore they ultimately provide poor value for money. And a solution to this is to have a social partnership forum. If the situation is as bad as you make out in your statement, I cannot envisage how having a social partnership forum is going to actually change anything in any reasonable amount of time. With this in mind, Deputy Minister, and given that this Welsh Government will likely have to renegotiate with trade unions regarding changes in working practices, how long do you estimate it will take before your objectives are achieved? Do you expect the FBU to ballot members about these changes, or do you think that the Fire Brigades Union will accept your recommendations that working patterns need to change? Finally, given that the FBU announced their consultative ballot on the 15th of November, which has resulted in a 78% turnout and a 79% member vote to reject the 5% pay increase that was on offer, which will now almost certainly lead to strike action, what consideration have you given to addressing your proposed changes in shift patterns, alongside your ambition of broadening the role of firefighters to deal with medical calls, with pay negotiations that are now very likely to take place? Thank you.